Welcome to episode 20 of Down Underworld Denizens, brought to you by Jester Prince Terra Australis team. Pre-orders are now open. We will have a review of this team a little later on, but also wanted to promote our other supporters, Tats Tabletop. In breaking news, Charlie Victor products, and of course, our return of our amazing ads. This time it's Did You Get What You Paid For? And I would like to begin episode 20 by asking our regular commentators, what is the favourite part of the new edition to you?
Well, I'm going to jump in first. Mine's a very generic part of this. My favourite part is all of it. But more specifically, my favourite part of the new edition is just the way the rosters have been changed up, the way that some teams have new skills on them, and that there are new skills there. I'm just loving the fact for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, we're going to rock up at tournaments and we're going to see some really, really unique roster designs. It kind of became stale in the 2020 edition. You rocked up at a tournament and I was facing Skaven. I knew exactly what the roster would be. Now those sorts of things are going to change. So I'm looking forward to just seeing unique play styles on the pitch.
What about you, Wilts?
Um, Not to get bogged down in too minute detail so far, but the biggest thing I like so far is that throw teammate no longer counts as the pass for your turn, so it gives a lot more flexibility to stunty teams trying to go for that one turn stretch play, and means that if the ball gets pinned deep, it's not just immediately game over for them. So stunties in general get a lot of cool toys to play with in this new edition, and we'll have plenty of time to explore that later.
So what you're saying, Wilt, is you like the fact that you can throw a bomb, throw a teammate, kick a teammate, pick up a teammate, carry them and put them back down again, and throw the ball.
And hand off the ball, and punt the ball, and maybe fumble rescue the ball.
What's not to love about all of those?
There's a few options there. Hey, my highlight of the current edition is, and I know a lot of people have talked about what comes in the box, and there's been a little bit of, moaning online. Oh, we didn't get star players in the box set. We didn't get player cards in the box set. We didn't get whatever, whatever, whatever. What people have forgotten is the rule book is actually 50 pages fatter. Like, it's actually a massive tome. It's really big. And the thing that I love they've put in there is the matched play guide. I think the matched play guide is not to be underestimated. I love the fact that it's not a separate publication, which we had to wait multiple years for it to come out. It's in there, it's embedded, and the rule book refers to the online documents as well. So if you've read the rule book, you will know to go looking online for certain components, elements that they can update as the new season progresses. And I just love it. I love the match play guide built into the core rulebook to acknowledge that tournament play is a core part of the game, and it always has been. But I love the fact it's acknowledged in the rulebook as being that. So anyway, that's my favourite part of the new edition, which is a pretty good segue, Millsy, to something you wanted to say.
Yeah. Look, since we started getting, release information and snippets and all of this sort of stuff, and then when the rulebook came out, there's been masses and masses and masses of people, on the internet not having read the rules. So I just want to implore people. I know most people, as soon as they got the book, they went straight to the team section and had a look at what their team does. Or they went straight to the skill section to read up what a skill does. Now, because of that, many people have been getting rules wrong. and they've been interpreting, and I've many times on Facebook I've put on there, interpretation is for riddles. So we shouldn't be interpreting the rules, we should be reading them. So I just implore people to open the book from the start. If you don't want to read the fluff part, that's fine, but read the entirety of the rules, then get into the teams and the skills, and it will make a lot more sense. One of the biggest things I saw, I'll make a mention of it, is the with dump off now, and people had just read the skill of dump off and what that did. If they had read the rules section before that, they would have noticed that, one of the best things I like about this episode, and I'm going to say that quite a lot, one of the best things, is that there is a difference now between declaring an action and performing the action. So if coaches had have read that part in the rules first, then the skill section would not be ambiguous. They would know exactly that I declare the blitz on your player with dump off, but your player does not dump it off until I actually perform the block action. So I just implore people to read the book in its entirety before jumping to any conclusions about what a skill does or how a team will work. So that's my little I don't know if it's a rant, but that's my what I'd like the community to do before they get into the rest of it.
Yeah, and look, I think that performing and declaring cleanup is one of my littler things that I like about the new edition. I know it used to effectively work that way before Blood Bowl 2020, but I actually think the way that they've reworded it in the 25 edition is actually even clearer than it used to be under LRB days. If that's not heresy to say that. I really like the clarity of the difference between performing and declaring, and I think that's one of my positives of the new edition.
Absolutely. It definitely has the potential to make things cleaner and clearer overall. And while there's still an occasionally spotty implementation for a couple of skills that we won't focus on too much, overall it's definitely a big positive.
So, Mills, you run through a couple of other things you wanted to highlight in terms of things you are really liking about the new edition.
There's quite a number. I'm looking at playing both humans and orcs, and I know when it first got released, people are going, "Oh, that's it, they're ruined. They've lost these positionals. They've lost this." But when you look at it with these players, they're getting these new skills. Like the taunt, for instance, it's going to be a fantastic skill, and the coaches that utilize that best are going to have some really positive results. So, you know, little things like that are an extra on a team. I love the fact that whilst I've lost some positionals, the ones that I do have, do work a lot better. That's and going with both of those teams, the humans and the orcs, this semi kind of captain thing that we have going on here. That I get a free pro skill, and if my captain is on the pitch, then I can potentially get a free reroll out of it too. Those sort of little bits and pieces will just add to the play style, and I can't wait for that sort of stuff to happen.
The thing I like about taunt as a skill is it adds to fend and stand firm as a little mini game, mini mind game with your opponent going, oh, well, this turn I'm not going to use taunt. And then they have to question themselves, oh, does he not want me to follow up? Or is he baiting me that I should follow up and he doesn't want me to? And all of that extra separate side gaming besides what's actually on the table. I love it.
And I think, Mills and I actually thrashed this through in a conversation we had just yesterday. It can be easy to think, taunt is a poor man's stand firm, but there's actually two significant advantages of taunt over stand firm. So while stand firm also has some advantages, the one advantage taunt has over stand firm is it's not negated by juggernaut. So stand firm and sidestep and wrestle all get effectively switched off by juggernaut, whereas taunt doesn't. So taunt remains in play if you're hit by a juggernaut player. The other advantage that taunt has over stand firm is that you can use it effectively to actually pull apart a cage. So stand firm, you will just stay put. right? So you won't actually affect the cage. On the other hand, if you use taunt, you're actually pulling apart potentially corners of a cage. So it can be used to actually crack open a cage. So there are two ways at least that taunt offers something new. I love it. I think it's a great skill. Interestingly, I think Anything But a One kind of leaked it to us when we jumped on episode 139. And I'm here for it. I'm excited to see taunt.
I'll just make one quick comment though, Babs. Most of the players I'm putting Juggernaut on already have Frenzy, so Taunt doesn't actually do anything to them.
Well, it does, but they have to do it anyway. Somebody want to chat about throw teammate, and we've mentioned that it already doesn't count as the pass for the term. It also got another little boost in terms of the player that is thrown. If they land successfully, they get star play points now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it no longer has to be specifically a superb throw. Well, it has to be a superb throw for the player throwing the teammate to get SPP. But the player that's been thrown, regardless of the quality of the pass, gets SPP if they land safely. Now, I'd want to double check whether that works even if they get fumbled, but if they get thrown, no matter what quality of the pass it is, they can get SPP just by landing safely, which is awesome. And they finally made it so that kick teammate counts for SPP as well, which it always should have, but for some reason it didn't in the previous edition.
And what I also love is I think there's an intentional push to lean into throwing teammates for those that can. The fact that we've got skills like bullseye and lethal flight in the game are a development avenue for big guys now that can throw teammate, and I'm here for it. I think it's really, it's an avenue that was always an option that they've really leaned into in this edition, and I think it is another positive. I like the idea that big guys now there's a choice between do I develop this player as a blocking piece predominantly, as a roadblock piece, or do I develop it to actually toss my teammates? I I like it as a development option.
More than just putting strong arm on them.
Yeah, I mean, strong arm still exists as an option for those that don't already come with it out of the gate.
And it's still a good skill. It's just not the only skill anymore.
Exactly. Whereas I think before it was.
Yeah. So is it worthwhile saying here now, with throw teammate and passing both being a thing that can happen now, I know a lot of people have complained online about their human thrower and the human team going down or going up, whatever the balance is on the passing stat. But I really honestly think that the playtesting team have looked at humans and said, now that you can throw the ball and you can throw teammate in the same action, that may be why the human thrower has lost a point of passing ability because that thrower can just sit right in the backfield now if they want. They can pick up the ball, they can throw it to the halfling, and then knowing that the halfling can then be thrown as a teammate. If they kept that human thrower at a 2+ pass, then maybe humans would be too broken. So I know some people complained about some stats going on different teams going up or down. I honestly think that the playtest team have looked at that and going, well, we've got a throw teammate and we've got a pass action, and that's why we're doing some of these different changes on our rosters.
That's actually something I hadn't thought about myself. Obviously, they've done a lot of normalizing across multiple teams where the same position exists. So Old World Alliance and Dwarves now actually have the same Dwarf linesman rather than different ones. A lot of the human players and the Old World players were slightly different or slightly more expensive, and they've rationalized that back to being the same again now. I'd obviously just thought of it as they made the human thrower the same as the Old World thrower, but both of those teams have that throw teammate option as well, as you mentioned. I hadn't thought of it as from the angle of the throwing being too reliable on the same team as a throw teammate option, and Imperial Nobles obviously don't have that, so they got the positive, and humans missed out this time.
Yeah, and look, I think there's certainly we know that there's been some modification of stats in other areas as well. So, for example, the dwarf blitzers dropped an agility position, and again, people have been upset about that. But I think in that case, at least, it's very, very clear it's an intentional decision. Unfortunately, there have been a few typos that slipped through. We've already got some errata that says that there were some things that were on the rosters that weren't intended, or some things missing from the rosters that were intended to be in there. I do want to just wait for an updated designer's commentary. I'm hoping that there's one between now and Christmas where we can actually, see whether everything we're spotting in the rules is intended. I think Millsy may be right that the passing is one that's intentional, but I just want to hold out just to wait and see whether perhaps there are a few extra typos they haven't picked up with the very early first pass that got uploaded on the 14th of November, where literally they had some errata before the rules officially dropped. I'm hoping that there are some little cleanups, because I do really like what Wilts is saying, that, consistency of player types is an awesome thing to aim for. And it looks like that by and large, that is what they've done, that, a dwarf lineman's a dwarf lineman, regardless of what team they're on, an ogre's an ogre, regardless. Now, there are a couple of little exceptions. I'm waiting to see whether that is actually just a little typo and they're going to make them all the same, or whether there is going to be some minor changes, like the goblins on orc teams having a lower passing than in the other goblins or whatever. Either way, I'm just delighted that there is a consistency of player types. I think it's a good move away from where we were with 2020. I think it's a positive step.
Yeah. Do we just want to go through the kind of list of positives we've got listed down here, or?
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. I'm probably going to steal this one from Wilts, but one of the other positives is the stunties, not excluding things like chainsaws and bombardiers that can now have that dodge to dodge into cages and so on. So I do love that little addition. These players are a stunty players; they should be able to just dodge in there. So I think that's a positive, and that's a bit of a boost for the poor old stunty players.
It's also less rules text that you have to remember in the middle of a game, so it's just, again, consistency is a good thing. Not having to remember exceptions, and it just happens to give more fun on the tabletop and more options, and that's a good thing.
100%.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. One of the things I really like is the modification to star player point progression. I think Blood Bowl 2020 did bring some interesting ideas in, like the random skills. I like the way they've cleaned that up. I really like the way that works now. I like that random primaries are now, you roll twice, pick once, and that all the skills are now the same value in TV once they're selected. So they might cost different levels of star player points initially, but they now are the same TV price on your team roster. I think that's going to be good for league commissioners, who before that was a bit of a nightmare to navigate. I think the star player progression system, is cleaned up, and I think it's looking really, really good. I'm really excited to see how it plays. They've fiddled again with the random MVP a little. I personally want to see probably stat upgrades be a little more choice driven than just, one roll on a D16. But I think it's a really positive step.
Yeah, and speaking of those, skilling up, we do have the new devious skill tree. I do love the fact that we have a devious skill tree now, and I also love the fact that certain teams don't have access to it. If you look at the fluff of a team, are they a good team as opposed to an evil or like a shenanigans type team? So I like the fact that that's there. And going back to what you said, Babs, with the random primaries, where you get to roll two and choose which one you want. Teams like dwarves, who most people online have said dwarves are ruined now; they can't get this and so on. But they do have access to devious. So the fact that probably half, I don't know the exact numbers, that quite a lot of the devious skills are designed for secret weapons means that as soon as I roll up a random, and if I roll a secret weapon one, well, I don't have to worry about that. I can re-roll that one straight away. So skilling up randomly a dwarf lineman now I'm not no longer rolling between 12 skills if four or five of them aren't there. So I've got a good chance, especially if I can roll twice, I've got a really good chance of coming up with the skill that I want. So yeah, there's an added bonus there for that one as well.
And I strongly suspect that the only reason pump wagons don't have secret weapon anymore is just so you can't get saboteur on them as a skill. As much as it would be hilarious watching an exploding pump wagon that takes out a bunch of players around it, that would be really cool in my opinion, but sadly we don't get to see that on the tables.
I'm not sad at all. I mean, pump wagons without secret weapon, brilliant.
Well,
And
I'm
yeah,
I'm not sad about them not having secret weapon. I'm just not I'm sad about the possibilities that we missed out on because of that.
but I think just the law thing that Millsy was chatting about there about certain teams shouldn't foul because that's an element of the style of that team. Another example of that kind of law-driven rule that I think is a good element of the game is the new hatred rule. So that's something we've not seen in Blood Bowl before. That if you get injured to a certain degree, you can roll, and on a 4+, you develop hatred of that player type. In terms of its race, not its position. So yeah, I like that as well in terms of it's a bit of storytelling going on in that kind of development of a team.
Unless you get killed by a woodland fox and then you gain the hatred of animal. And I'm not sure how many more other players are in there are animals.
Beer pigs.
Yes,
Ah, there you go.
But strangely
and
not acorn. Acorn's not an
yes,
animal, apparently.
he's squirrel, but not animal. I've already asked GW about that to see whether that's another thing they've made a small typo with because I think he should be animal. But anyway, another one I really like that remember in 2020 when it first came out, the Pres to Nuffle existed as a way to balance teams that were spending treasury money, and they quickly realised that the system they developed didn't really work very well, and so they kind of errated it, and so then the Pres to Nuffle team was kind of Pres to Nuffle table was really relegated to the kickoff table and an inducement. But the way they've got the overdog and underdog team in 25, at least at my first look, looks good. I like it. I like the ability that the underdog team can spend cash and it's not it's not wasted money. I think, Wilt, you often had a frustrating experience in the league where, you were the underdog team and you just weren't allowed to spend any of your money. It was bizarre.
Yeah, it's basically the solution I was always wanting is you can spend up to 50k to get that one inducement that you're missing out on. I still personally believe that if the underdog team spends any money at all, the other team should be granted a Prayer to Nuffle for free to make up for that, which shouldn't be game breaking, but just adds a bit of extra flavor. But yeah, if you're 5k or 10k short of getting the star player that you wanted or getting your second bribe, you can spend that little bit extra and make sure you get what you need. And 100% that's what it should be.
Yeah, no arguments on that one. It's like I said, it was very frustrating. I know I played your team, and it's like you had so much cash in the bank that you couldn't spend on anything. So, um, yeah,
Do we
um,
want to have our readers, our listeners, come in with their best records for a season? Because in our six game season, my Snotlings laundered nearly 2.5 million gold. But
What?
wowzers.
between inducements and money that they'd earned that they couldn't spend, I laundered nearly 2.5 million
Okay,
gold.
okay, yeah, okay. So you're counting the the,
Inducements
the,
get
the
the
inducement cash. Yeah,
Inducement
got
money that was thrown at them and money that they had that they couldn't do anything with. Add them together, and I could have laundered
it. You could have
two and a
started up.
half teams. I could
You
have
could have
started
started a
two and a
bank.
half more teams. I could have started nearly three teams into another league somewhere with the money that they'd gone through.
Hey, if there's Snotling teams, you could
wow.
have started 10.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Hey, listen, another thing I love about the new edition is the introduction of elite skills. So specifically calling them out of what they are and having them labeled as elite skills. The rule book has also kind of left it open that that could possibly change as well. There might be other skills that could get added into it, or indeed some of them could be taken off. But I like the fact that no longer do TOs have to sit there and go, oh, do we have to ban this skill or only put a certain amount on there? It's they're called out already, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it leaves also some really interesting possibilities for tournament organisers in how they treat elite skills. It's like a category of skill now that you can have tournament rules around. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think it's a really good move, and we've known that there's been different levels of skill already, and just actually having it as a label in the rule book, I think will assist both league commissioners and tournament organisers to make sensible decisions around how to treat those elite skills.
Well, as with anything, recognizing that an imbalance or a problem exists is the first step. I'm more personally of the opinion that instead of punishing the overly strong choices, they should be making the other choices better to compete on a more level field, rather than just going, oh well, they're too good, you don't get to have as many of them, go away. I personally don't think that's the correct choice, but obviously there's room for discussion and room for dissension, and that's what makes everything great by having lots of options and having different treatments at different tournaments and seeing what you can put together.
All right, you ready for my out of the box positive? And this might be leading nicely into my question around what is a surprise you found in the new edition. You ready for mine?
Yep.
Frogs are back in Blood Bowl, baby. You want to know why I think this?
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Okay, in the inducement section, all right, we've always had wizards, right? And they've always been, well, since 2020, they've been allowed to cast one of two spells. The two spells are Fireball and a very rarely taken option, which is the Zap spell. Now, the Zap spell, in case you missed it, turns a player into a frog or a toad. Now, in this current edition, now you can zap a frog at the beginning of any turn. Now, that's a significant change. And in order to be successful in the zap spell, as per 2020, you have to roll equal to or above the player's armor that you're targeting. So what that means is now, if a gutter runner has the ball at the beginning of your turn, 2+, baby, it's a frog.
Nice. I had
So you
not thought
mean
of that.
strength,
Yes.
not armor, right?
Yeah,
Strength.
strength.
Yes.
Strength, yeah. So yeah, you make
Yeah.
a check against their strength. So, that's a zap spell. And the significant difference between 2020 and this edition is in 2020 edition, it could only be at the beginning of your opponent's turn. Now it's the beginning of any turn.
Well, technically, it's the end of any turn, which is also meaning the beginning of the next turn too. So if we go by the rule book, but yeah, the fact that you can match your opponent's strength, I'd love to see some gutter runners turn into frogs. Unless, of course, I'm playing Skaven, which I plan to do this year sometime. But I thought you were going to allude to Slan, and I was going to pull you up on it and say Slan aren't back. Slan never left. They were here from the start. Slan were in season one. They're way back in the day. They were in first edition. Slan are going to be back. I know the NAF is currently working on what to do with the Slan, and I've heard multiple people online saying, "Oh, let's just get rid of them. They're no longer this." And a lot of people's arguments as to why Slan should be gone and why the NAF shouldn't do anything is that they argue that the NAF are not rules creators and we shouldn't be putting rules into the game that weren't done by GW. My counterpoint to that was, have you ever played in a tournament that ran exactly 100% from the match play guide? And if the answer is no, which I believe would be like 99% of everyone, then you've actually played in a tournament where the NAF has had some jiggling of the rules. So let's not kick the NAF out just yet. I know that there's some wise heads in there, and hopefully they come up with something that keeps Slan in the game. I personally don't think they need any changing. They were never an overpowered team to begin with, but fingers crossed, we should be seeing from the NAF shortly. I'm not sure the exact date on that, but they should be coming
First of
out
January.
soon.
Before the 1st of January, we'll have something from the NAF.
Oh,
Well,
fantastic.
as the closest thing to a Slan anti on the podcast, I think the only thing the Slan need is to have Leap instead of Pogo, and then they're perfectly fine where they are.
I look forward to seeing what they decide. I think we should let them make that decision, and I hope they do. I hope either way. What I really want to see is that they remain a viable NAF team, and I think at this stage that's looking likely. So I'm looking forward to that. Hey, what about other surprises you found in the new edition? Anything else you want to highlight?
You want to give us the mass
Surprises.
rundown on apothecaries being boosted in the new edition?
Yeah, well, I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, the apothecaries have gone back to being similar, not identical, but similar to what they were in LRB days. So I do like that apothecaries now are back to, well, injuries are back to being 50% badly hurts, which means the apothecaries are therefore back to being a 50% success rate of working. And the other change is that you can use an apothecary on a star player now. So that's just one little glitch they've removed. I think that's
And you can
also
use one
a good
journeyman now
step.
as well, obviously, because there's no distinction between any different player for an APO.
Yeah. Yep. So I do
Yeah.
think it's a good move. I mean, I think it's one of many changes the playtesters have made to revisit decisions they've made in 2020 edition that probably weren't the right step. There's at
Were you
least
allowed to use an APO on a star player back in the old days? I'd never played
um
back in
No,
the 90s and early
no,
2000s, so
don't
were star
remember.
players
I don't.
exempt back
I'm
in the
gonna have
old
to take that
days?
one on
no.
notice. I don't remember.
Oh, I can tell you the answer on that one. No, no star players in the rule book, in the fluff part of it from LRB t days. The star players had their own star player apothecary that would heal them between matches, so they wouldn't use a team's apothecary.
Unless you go back to the third edition rulebook, in which case you could use apothecaries on star players, but you have to go back that far.
The other thing with apothecaries now, there's a slight change to how that works with regen. So I believe
Yes.
now, yeah, Wilt, you want to tell us about what happens with regen and apothecaries?
Well, the good news for our green-skinned brethren that love their trolls and for our undead friends is that regeneration now happens before you work out what kind of injury they suffer. But the other part about that is it means that it happens before you get the choice of having to use an apothecary. So, for the very few privileged undead, like the vampires, as
Buff
soon
the
as someone's
vampires.
as soon as your armor gets broken and you get that casualty rolling in, you immediately roll regen, and if it fails, then they can roll their D16 of doom and see what happens to you. And if you have your APO after that, you can use it. So same with trolls, they get to use that, and anyone else that I've missed, obviously, it's not a slight, it's just not my focus.
Yeah, well, Millsy, you were chatting earlier about the dwarves and there is significant change to the roster. I think a lot of people have been really scratching their heads about, why are the dwarves the way they are now? I just wanted to actually read a tiny snippet of the rule book, again, taking Millsy's advice here. If you actually go to the dwarf team list, and I'm reading on page 167 of the new rule book, it actually says it was one of their kin, the legendary Roselle, that's a dwarf, that translated that first ancient tome of Nuffle. As a result of this, many dwarves believe that they, and they alone, have the right to alter and tweak the rules as they see fit, in order to benefit their own style of play, of course. So there's a really clear kind of clue that what they're trying to do is lean into the old second edition style of the dwarf team. So back in second edition, Pete Nifton drew some brilliant artwork. I'll put it up in the Facebook group. In fact, I already have, for Down Underworld Denizens, about what this style of team looked like, where they took a ridiculous amount of secret weapons and they fouled at every opportunity, and they were definitely a crazy team that just did whatever was possible in order to eliminate their opponent and win the game. And I think that's where the dwarfs are leaning into now. And so, I do think that, some interesting changes like the bump to their reroll cost and the increase of the agility roll in a negative way to the dwarf blitzers is because they've seen just how powerful that team can be leaning into those things. So I just want to really just encourage people who haven't quite figured out what's going on with dwarves. I really want to encourage people to have a crack at really leaning into that fouling element and bringing a whole bunch of bribes.
So, dwarf cannon throw teammate when?
Yes.
Yeah, for now. I mean, I'm looking forward to some of that old second edition stuff coming back. I want to see Warhammer bring out Flint Churnblade and a renamed Boom Resison. I want to see a grenade throwing dwarf. I want to see a chainsaw wielding dwarf. I want to see a killdozer. Bring it on! Like let's lean into that.
Bring back the killdozer.
The other change they've made that might have people scratching their heads is the Chaos Dwarf team, because Hobgoblins have lost the ability to get general skills. But I just want to point out to our listeners that Hobgoblins were always described in the rulebook as being very sneaky but completely inept at Blood Bowl, and Dwarf Hobgoblins never played that way. And so I just want to point out to you what Hobgoblins were meant to look like. So this is a, did you know, Skirfrick Stone Sucker, running back for the imaginatively titled Hobgoblin team, often turns up for a match several days before match day. It takes him that long to tie up his bootlaces. So the Hobgoblin team also gets an entry that says that this unimaginatively named team is made up entirely, and not surprisingly, of Hobgoblins. Unfortunately, it has to make do with Hobgoblins who have voluntarily played Blood Bowl rather than being forced to, as they are in most Chaos Dwarf teams. And as a result, it has the biggest collection of stupid and easily duped players of any team in the old world. So that even the simplest things that Hobgoblins get wrong. So I like the fact that Hobgoblins were the worst, and it specifically says they stumble and trip onto the playing field, which means that games featuring them are very popular because people love seeing inept Blood Bowl players. Well, I think that the Hobgoblins are going to be a little bit more like that. They're going to be a little bit sneakier, but not particularly competent on the pitch. So
print quality
it's
and
kind
or
of
poor
leaning
playing
into that
quality.
lore a little bit, and I'm here for it. I think it's good.
And I think it means that people are more likely to take the sneaky stabbers because they're kind of the elite Hobgoblin, where they not only have stabs and shadowing, but they actually still have access to general skills.
Yes,
Such as this.
And they've come down in price too,
Is absolutely going to
that's also
destroy your
good
wallet.
for the sneaky stabbers.
Pirate
you've
teams rob
enjoyed coming to our
GW
local
what they
league.
see as their rightful income.
I have
Built on
yeah,
top of their
for
own
those listeners,
hard-won
recall that
Tolkien
I'm
and
playing
NFL
an
IP
all
and
Hobgoblin
folklore
team.
ripoffs.
So
they
I
don't
do
even
have the
add
sneaky
to the
stabbers
shareholder
and then,
returns of a
10, 11,
faceless
12
business.
Hobgoblins.
Model
And
piracy is not
the
even
only
a
star
major
player I've
problem in
introduced, because I
Australia,
am very low on my TV,
You'll all be
is
buying a new
Rashnak
edition,
Backstabber.
right?
So I have not
Our tiny
taken a
local club
Minotaur
ordered
or
12
Bull
plus
Centaur
copies.
or anything else.
If you buy or print
my
a team
Hobgoblin
which you
team
believe is not
all
the GW
Hobgoblins.
article,
And,
please post about
one
it
thing
on
I can
social
say about
media and
stab
help others
is
do the same.
do
Some
it.
free
Stab
advice.
with impunity, because
Or
it
write to
works more than
GW
you think.
headquarters and tell them to
Stab
produce
like
the
there's
game
no
we all
tomorrow,
love
because
well
there just might not be.
and without vindictiveness, and they'll do just
It
fine.
does sound very Blood
This
Bowl-ish.
message is brought to you by the Blood Bowl Coach's Sensible Response Office.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a new tournament coming up in January next year. So this will be the first tournament of the Queensland calendar, and we've got our guests here today. The tournament organisers. We have Dimitri, Ken, and Jason. So for those people that don't know them, they're members of the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League, or the NBBBL. And you guys are known for, just coming to tournaments and romping away with all the prizes and taking all the trophies and all the swag. What made you guys want to run a tournament in the first place? And, a further question to that, why did you choose a teams event?
Let someone else win something.
I don't think that's true because the Quilties are playing, aren't they?
Indeed, they are.
Yeah, they're probably the top seed. My top seed was probably going to be Jawa and Andrew, but I think Andrew couldn't commit in time, so it's Jawa and Liba, which I reckon they can beat the Quilties.
That's still a strong team.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we'd maybe go back to the question. So yeah, and also worth noting, we're not just members, but we are commissioners of the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League. We're just missing the fourth member of the commissioning squad, Matt, and but otherwise, yeah. So we have wanted to have our own tournament for a while. I think we've sort of, we were kind of jealous of the Sunny Coast Slam, admittedly. That's one thing the Sunny Coast League has had over us is they have a very nice tournament, and we'd like to have our own as well. So the reason why doubles is we kind of wanted to do something different. So I think that's kind of what really makes the tournament scene interesting, not just in Queensland, but everywhere, is like everyone has their own idea and their own take on a tournament, and every tournament is different. And we wanted to do something doubles because, basically we do have a focus on community, on sort of teamwork, on working together as a league. I know it's, we might come and take all the trophies, but that was an organized squad we sent up to your tournament, Millsy. We had people targeted at most casualties. We had me targeted at the Kahuna, and then we had a Skaven player who's obviously targeted at winning the thing. So,
and the league's motto is community first, and we play hard, but we also get along, and we push the getting along, the community. So yeah, we come along to the tournaments and play hard, but within the league itself, we play hard, play fair. We also run hobby days, trying to teach Dimitri to paint.
Hey, look, he's officially painted his first model.
Yes,
it's true.
So a big thing for the Northern League we push is community first. And we thought a doubles tournament would reflect that very well. There's no individual glory in a doubles tournament. You've got to work together as a team, as a small community, if you want. And that's why we wanted to do it.
Yeah, fantastic. And I suppose that probably leads into my next question of, your doubles tournament allows the sharing of some TV and some skills between the pairing. Was that also, to bolster the community and to get the people to work together? Or was there another reason that you chose that?
It was highly intentional to get people talking to each other, working together, working out a strategy. Again, it all comes down to community. It's working together. So it was designed so you can't have showboaters.
Yeah.
Well, you can. It's just that they're doing it at the expense of their teammate, potentially.
But it'll be very difficult for a team to win if one person takes all the toys and the other person doesn't. And there is no individual awards apart from painting.
Yep. Because yeah, as a team, if one person keeps winning and the other one keeps losing, then as a team that just boils down to a draw, which is obviously not good enough. Um, so yeah, we actually had this idea of like having a shared pool of like splitting between you and your partner in roster building a fair while ago. I think yeah, Jason and I think were talking about it back when I think that was
It
back
was
in
the Brisbane City Bash. It
yeah, the
was
Brisbane City Bash.
so yeah, nearly a year at this point in the making.
But yeah, the idea is like we want, because otherwise roster building itself can sort of be a bit of like an individual affair. You kind of show up at the, a week before, have your roster in mind. But now as a pair, you kind of like, you're not just picking like which team you want to play. You're also figuring out like, okay, as well, I'm gonna want maybe more skills, but in exchange, if you pick the kind of team that wants more treasury to spend, right, then maybe we can sort of come up with an arrangement that's going to be beneficial to both of us and have a strong team overall. So, because I do like roster building, I think maybe people don't um, spend enough time thinking about it sometimes, and I want to encourage that as well.
And it carries over to the games as well. So, encouraging the community in building the teams together, working out what you want to do during play, because you'll be sat next to each other. If you need help from your partner, that's permissible. It's all games will be on chess clocks, and if you have to take a break from your game to go and help your partner and give him some advice, what to do, what to play. If it's your turn, your clock keeps going. You're burning your own time down, but burning team's time down. If your opponent is playing his, they can pause the clock while you give advice to your. So that's something new as well, because usually it's frowned upon to give advice to players while they're playing, but it's a team event, so we want to encourage that.
Definitely give the feel that it's not just two people playing side by side, but two people playing together, working towards a common goal.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And there are a couple of tournaments that have done something not completely dissimilar to what you're running. I personally love it, a doubles tournament. I think it's brilliant, and I really do think it does exactly what you are aiming for, which is bringing something new to the Queensland Blood Bowl scene. So, thank you, we love it. One question I had was around you've said that already at team creation you can kind of divvy up skills in an asymmetrical way, so not each team gets exactly the same number of skills. And likewise for TV, there's a little bit of horse trading that can happen for initial cash. What about on the day? Do the coaches get any choice about who plays who in the team, or is that randomly allocated, or how do pairings happen after game one?
Right. So we did, I hope, put that in the players pack. But yeah, in game one, it's random. But then after game one, we're thinking we will just match within each team based on like the individual scores, right? So whichever, like, let's say that, you know, you have a team and you got a win in a draw, and then you're playing against another team that got a win in a draw. Then the player that got the win in round one will play the other one who got the win in round one, and the draw will play the draw, which should generally lead to sort of more balanced games, right? Um,
Otherwise, no one would want to play Kiltane.
Well, I was thinking more about, somebody takes a bash team and somebody takes a dash team, and then, they can then sneakily arrange for, I don't know, the bash team to take on the weak team, in terms of armor or whatever. Like, sometimes some team tournaments have kind of a choice of who plays who within the team. I was just asking that question.
Yeah, it was considered, but the other factor is time. Because let's face it, Blood Bowl players, it's like herding cats and trying to get a decision out of them. Whereas we could just go, this is the matching. It's done, get on with the game.
I think it's a fairer system too, so I do like that.
Yeah, I think if you had like larger teams, you could have some sort of like incentives to say like, okay, as a team, maybe you set your like your order of like this is board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the other team can like play this meta game of like, oh, we're going to put our weakest player in board one to sort of give up that match, but then try to win all the other ones or something. But yeah, I think there's not really any incentive to do that. And in doubles, it's kind of just like a coin flip, basically. So there's not much point to it.
The other thing is with larger teams, you can probably go for a bit of a mismatch, but in a doubles team, you really need both players to be winning to win the event anyway. So at the end of the day, it shouldn't really matter which person plays who.
Yeah, and that sort of links back to the roster building that Dimitri was talking about, where the anticipation is the team that's the most creative and spends their resources in the most efficient way should have an advantage. Obviously, new players are probably going to struggle if they paired into the quilties, but they could bring something completely creative in roster building that stumps them and gets them the advantage, and that's sort of plays in there.
Yep. Yeah, we have one team that's actually submitted their rosters so far, and I think so I was wondering if they were going to keep it secret, but I think they've already sort of publicly told several others about it. But we have a
That was Rowan and Laidlaw.
Yeah, we have double stunties from them, and I'll leave it as an exercise for the reader to figure out what they've taken, because you can pretty much figure out from their team name what it is that they've brought. But it does seem like a fun list.
Yeah, cool. So, as I mentioned at the start of this interview, you are running the first event in Queensland in 2026. So you'll also be running the first one under the new season 3. Have you had any challenges or encountered anything quirky about getting a rule set and a tournament pack ready under these new rules?
Yeah, definitely, right? Like we're kind of just we're breaking new ground here, right? It's very hard to know what to expect. And I know we had Games Workshop's tier list as a starting point, but I do think that that's off on a few, just based on what we already know about teams in the previous edition, because some teams haven't changed very much and are obviously mistiered. Yeah, but
Hell, our first tier list was my gut going, this is where everyone's going to go. And yeah, that wasn't a particularly strong starting point, but it was our starting point.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, we've also. Well, I'll be straight up now. I've got no idea about the rule pack. You know me. I didn't even know there was a ball involved in this bloody game. But Dimitri and Jason have done it all, and they've dragged in some of our top players from the NBBL League, and in the background have been theorising and list building and seeing if they can break it. On top of that, Jason took a really good initiative, and we've been running for the last few weeks a boot camp where we're doing a mock league stroke tournament sort of games using new rules to see what falls out of that. So between opening it up to some of our team members to see what they think of the rules, where the team should come placed, we're also in practice, as well as theorizing, doing a boot camp to get as much data as we can.
And further to that, just on the boot camp, it isn't just like our typical North Brisbane players who you'd expect to see rocking up to every tournament. Nearly half the field has never actually played in NBBL for the boot camp. So we've been able to pull in a lot of new blood with new ideas. I was very surprised to see that not one but two Wood Elf teams rocked up with a single reroll. There's been some just different perspectives on how the new edition will play out, which it's been really good to see.
Just on the subject of Wood Elves, I'd theorized a league roster under the 2020 edition of a Wood Elf starting roster with 0 rerolls. But since they got a little bit cheaper, you can squeeze that one in now.
Yeah,
not everything got cheaper. Wood Answers got more expensive.
Yeah, but the linemen got cheaper, and you do have more of them than you have of anything else. So overall, it's a discount. Yeah, I myself am actually, so I guess actually now that we're here, we've also just announced the registrations for season 9 of North Brisbane League. So that should be starting pretty much in February, just after we've conducted the Doubles Showdown. And yeah, for that I myself am considering a 1 reroll Wood Elf list. So
But that's the other good thing about this tournament, putting it out there, getting people's opinions, running the boot camp especially, is dragging people into the league. It looks like we'll have a load of new players joining the league for season 9, some returning players. So it's all good for the NBBBL overall at the minute. So things are looking rosy. Just to say, so we'll be able to send even more people to everyone's tournaments.
But that's excellent.
So more-
Like it's great to hear so many new coaches coming in because of the new edition. I personally think the number one reason I've been excited for the new edition is it's Warhammer supporting Blood Bowl and making Blood Bowl front of mind in people's experiences in their local gaming stores. So it's fantastic. You've got so many new coaches coming to the game. That's brilliant.
absolutely, yeah, love to see it.
And we're also achieving on the community first front and going to tournaments to take all your toys. We actually got another best painted as well. That's 2 painters we've now got in the league. If I can recruit Rowan, I'm going to be a happy treasurer. We just need a wooden spoon player. Maybe you can join us, Millsy.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for that.
It's going to be our new
Yeah.
team. We're just working out the final wording for our new team song of "Suck It, Millsy."
That frog's alive.
Yeah.
Hey, look, guys, give it a red hot plug. Keen to see tell us how Regos are going, but also just give us, for people who are not familiar with the North Brisbane Double Showdown, when is it? Where is it? Yeah, give it a bit of a red hot plug.
All right, so it will be on the 24th and 25th of January in 2026. So basically just a month and a half away from now, or probably by the time you do the podcast goes out, it'll be close to a month. And yeah, it will be at the Dice Spot in North Brisbane, Wavell Heights. This is our sort of friendly local gaming store, and they host us every Wednesday for League, and they have a pretty good spot for the tournament. Most importantly, they have air conditioning, so I
And
found
it
that's
works.
probably I found probably the most important thing to have at a tournament in Queensland summer. So yeah, basically, if you're at all interested, just go to our website, which we've just recently put up as a starting point, which is NBBBL.org. That's 3 B's, and that'll direct you to the tournament. But yeah, so as we sort of just been discussing, it's a doubles tournament. You sign up as a pair, you'll build your rosters as a pair, you will play all of your games as a pair, and any sort of trophies, winning or losing, everything will be done as a pair. You're free to, talk to your teammate. You can even give advice during the game as long as you're on the clock for it. So it's also a good time for new players to learn. So I'd recommend new players take someone more experienced who can help them out.
Yeah, sorry. I'd also add if you haven't got a partner to play with or a teammate at the minute, still sign up, because we have had individuals sign up, and we will be going through an exercise probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks to team people up who have signed up solo.
Yeah, and I believe you guys have you've got a bit of a workaround for those people that do turn up, or maybe a single person out of the pair can't make it on the weekend, and you can throw someone into it, and you do have a system for allowing of the TV and the skills to be split in that too, don't you?
They'll be getting to play with me. Or
No,
Jason.
you're with me. You're with me. We're the buy busting team.
Are we
they
a
get
team?
Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're the buy busting team.
So to be clear, right, we are taking buy busting very seriously, which I think is important because no one really wants to come to a tournament and have to miss out on, one or more of their games. So basically, because it's a doubles tournament, the sort of worst case scenario we have to handle is that like an entire team doesn't show up and we have an odd number of teams. So we have like a full team that we can have. That's Jason and Ken as our buy busters. They will not be playing Orcs and Amazons unless, of course, maybe
What?
they swap them around.
No one told me that.
I thought we told
What
you
the
you were playing
hell?
Black Orcs.
Ken playing the Amazons would be fun. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that's my thought. Is maybe if Ken plays the Amazons and Jason plays the Orcs, that'll be a good laugh.
Well, that'd be better than a bunch of fairy elves. That's not an idea, chaps. That is not an idea.
Give Ken the
Come on,
snotlings.
You joke, but that is the snotlings are currently what I've got signed up to hold the slot. So they're very powerful in the new edition.
Yeah, Snotlings are a real team now. They already were the best of the stunties, and now they are a serious team. So don't take Snotlings lightly these days in the new edition. So yeah, our buy busting scenario is talking about. So the worst case then is like, yeah, we have a full team that needs to sub in. That's Jason and Ken, and then also if someone else is missing their partner, Matt can sub in for their partner. We will have a sort of bunch of substitute teams available. I think Jason has at least one team that kind of can pose as pretty much any team. So ideally, we just have Matt sub in and take whatever roster that their partner was intending to play. But as a backup plan, we have four commissioners, so we will be available to help with some a little bit of roster fixing on the day if we have to.
Well, just on that point, we are looking for a fifth commissioner. Might as well get it out there on the airwaves. Applications being taken now.
And just to be clear, the Monday after your tournament is a public holiday. So if there's interstaters or even international travellers wanting to show up, then there's the ability to travel back safely on the Monday.
Absolutely.
Straya.
Straya Day. So I think that's almost a wrap, lads. But is there anything we've forgotten to mention, or we've forgotten to ask, or that you would like to add before we sign off?
Yeah, cheers for the weekend, Millsy. Had a blast, thank you.
Yeah,
cheers.
It's a very nice bunch of mugs we all took home.
Yeah, too bad about that one that was missing from your collection going back to Brisbane.
Yeah, we dropped that. We didn't want that one.
You'll have to join them next year, Jason.
Yeah.
That didn't sound too enticing.
Sorry, I've got people messaging me on the side.
No, we'll be back next year. Just tell me the weekend. I'll book it now.
Brilliant. There's an endorsement for Bundy Rum-ble.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Well, there's about 4 distilleries around there, so our travelling party were happy little bunnies.
Absolutely.
They certainly were.
Stay weak next time. You can spend your time going through each one of them separately.
Guys, on behalf of Down Underworld denizens, thank you for coming on. Thank you for plugging the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League Doubles Showdown. And for our listeners out there, stay tuned. It will be on Tour Play, so you should be able to see matches as they go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Millsy.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
And I'm glad you guys all kept it very PG for us. It's we do say it's Mickey the kid friendly, so
Yes.
Dr. Nick's Mickey. So if he's able to listen to it, we keep it in the podcast. And suck it, Millsy. Yeah, that'll make it in
Probably
there.
fine.
We're referring
And,
to lollipops for sure, 100%.
I can't believe I've said it twice, so I've just said
frogs.
it myself, and now it's on there. Yeah.
There can't be anything wrong with Suck It Millsy.
Oh, as long as you guys don't turn up to a tournament with that on your shirt.
Are you giving them
Oh,
ideas?
you just said it.
Oh, what have I done?
So, which one of you is going to bring a vampire team with a thrall linesman named Millsy that gets bitten every time?
That is most
I love
likely to
it.
be me.
Look,
Look at
it could be Ken's filler team.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
I can't
playing
be doing
vampires.
vampires. You've got to think about when you play. Think about the game when you play with them.
No,
Thinking's
you don't have
not a
to.
good
They
trait.
can fall apart hilariously if you don't. So it'd be fun to watch.
I've got a new aim for 2026. Most casualties at every tournament. There you go.
At every tournament,
Every
not
tournament.
just at 3 of them.
Well, those Mighty Boy Biggins are gonna help.
Oh yeah,
I
they
know.
are.
And at the end of every tournament, go suck it, Millsy.
Are you planning to continue your orc run, Ken?
I was going to end it for this. I was going all humans this year because I had fun with them at Feudball last year. But because it's a new orc team, and I'm really enjoying it in boot camp because it's making me play different, which is always good. I'm probably going to stick with orcs again, yeah, purely because it's new. Excuse me, it's a new team, new way of thinking. Loving the team captain and the brawler for league. So yeah, I'll probably stick with orcs.
Is it really a new way of thinking, though, Ken, for you? You're going to go for it 2 times every time anyway, right?
Yeah, but now he gets to
Yeah.
dodge out his blitzers on it too.
Yeah, I get to dodge now. It just makes it easier. So I'll probably stick with orcs and maybe take humans because I like the new human blitzers. They're good. The human catcher going to strength 3 is just awesome.
That's a new human blitzer. The strength 3 catcher is now a human blitzer with block.
You're telling me at speed 10, those things are going to be lethal. So humans are looking good.
Yeah, they're actually the 2 teams I'm looking at playing is humans and orcs. I'm like a lot of people, when they heard they were missing positionals, it's like, oh, they suck now. It's like, no. Look at what they got in replace of those, and it's like, yeah, I think humans are going to be a sleeper until someone starts playing them well, and then they're going to go, oh, geez, these guys are really good now.
Oh no, those orcs. You have to play them differently to what I've played, which is good. I'm enjoying that. It's still bash the crap, but you do have to play them different. But I'm really enjoying them. In the boot camp, we're not developing as per league. Like it's just a set skill and a set extra treasury every game. So that's why I was saying it's a bit like a tournament. But in the background, I'm keeping track of how they're going, and it's like after how many games have we played? 2, 3.
You've played
2. So some of those big uns are already got block and heading towards tackle as well. It's just ridiculous amount of SP.
How many casualties are you on?
12 or something ridiculous. It's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, Did you hear
Wow.
what my snotlings did to Matt Skaven last night?
Hopefully kill him.
I mean, I'd killed the 3 Kine rats on the line on turn 1.
Oh,
Oh,
brutal.
That's
Brutal.
see, Jason learns from the best. Kill. Who needs a ball? I mean, to be fair, I think we've probably talked about it. One of the good things about NBBL, certainly for me, is you come along and yes, you're playing with some very bloody good players, but you learn. Like I dragged Chris Wilcox down. He came and joined the league, and he says he's learnt so much while we've been playing. It's a good learning environment. But no, orcs and humans. You know me, I'm vanilla. That's nice and simple. Bash or run really fast with speed 10. And I don't have to worry about, I shouldn't have taken 4. I should have only taken 3 anymore.
Yeah. Only teams with team captain and at least 4 rerolls for Ken. Probably want the team mascot as well.
So if they release a new team in the future that has the team captain special rule, that makes it eligible for Ken to play it?
Possibly. If it's Squigs, yes. I'm desperate for a Squig team.
I strongly suspect Squigs won't get the team captain rule, though.
That was the one disappointment thing about 2025 season coming out, was we were planning in our season 9 to allow, we'd selected eight of the secret teams you could play, and Squigs was one of them. Somebody might have had a bit of influence on Squigs being allowed as one of the 8. But that's kiboshed that plan.
I'll just have to wait for season 10 then.
Possibly, yes. For now.
Possibilities for the future.
Back on. Yeah. Hey, are there any implications of this new edition? I know, one thing we've got written in our show notes is that we're probably going to have even more cash in our treasuries. I know Wilts was complaining about how much cash he had with his snotlings, but now that we've got less positionals to purchase, they're cheaper. And there's also the fact that if you do not stall, we'll talk about that in a moment, but if you do not stall, you also get an extra 10K to your winnings.
Yeah, I think teams are going to quickly find they've run out of additional bits and bobs to buy for their team, particularly if they're going to be trying to keep their TV low, because obviously that's an inducement in league, an advantage in league play. So I do wonder whether that the idea is that they want to see people purchase more inducements with their cash than perhaps in previous editions.
I do like that they made dedicated fans cheaper, but I'm just curious why they capped it at 3 for a starting team. Because that was always the biggest advantage that any stunty had, was maxing out your fans before the season even starts.
Maybe it's to balance this extra cash. You're going to get an extra 10K every game if you don't stall.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, well, if we're talking about stalling, yeah, they've added extra into this rule set. There was a slight little thing in a prayers to Nuffle in the 2020 rules, but now they've got a specific stalling mechanic, and as many people the world over, especially on Facebook land, have come up with, there's lots of holes in that stalling mechanic, but most of the people that are going to be stalling are going to be building a cage around them. And Babs has got some interesting ideas about how caging may not be the best thing anymore.
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that there's a lot of new tools in team toolkits to actually bust cages. Now, as Millsy's rightly pointed out, teams have lost positionals as an average, but they've gained extra skills. So there's an addition of how many skills teams come with that's gotten higher. And some of those skills are actually very good at actually, attacking a cage. The classic example is steady footing. Steady footing can be used to dodge into a cage. Doesn't matter how many tackle zones are there, you can still succeed on a 6. And steady footing gives you a shot at that. We've already mentioned in our episode that taunt is another option to pull away cage edges. There are going to be skills that are going to see cage breaking increased. In fact, another podcast claimed that there's now an additional 12.5% ability to bust a cage than under 2020. So I'm not sure exactly how that statistic was arrived at, but what I do want to say is that there's certainly a lot more tools in the toolkit to kind of get into a cage and knock the ball carrier down than there was in previous editions.
Well, cage busting's 100% if you take Jordell, because he just never fails a roll ever, right?
Oh, we all know that's going to be clarified. Let's not bring that up.
It's not going to last, no.
No. But the change to break tackle now has greatly improved your chances of getting into a cage.
Yeah, look, as I said earlier, I think that's another change going back to how it was, or at least similar, not exactly the same, but similar to how it was previous to 2020. And I just want to point out, like, there are a whole bunch of changes that we see that have been kind of wound back in the edition. So, wildly inaccurate and deflections, and making sure that players that don't have the new My Ball trait can now pass, which is good. We've talked about the Apothecary already. Sneaky Git's gone back to how it was in 2020. We've got rid of that whole +2 Dirty Player and Mighty Blow. All the skills we mentioned are now the same price. They've restricted where star players play for. I think it's all a big positive indication that the playtesting team have really listened to the community and gone, yeah, you're right. Some of these things that came in 2020 weren't great, and we're going to wind back. I'm here for it. I think, we rightly are saying this is good. This is a positive step. We like these changes. Break tackle is a great example. I loved the old break tackle rule. It's not quite back to, getting +5 to your dodging if you're strength 5, but it's +3. And that again, it's one of the cage breaking mechanics. If you've got something like an ogre or a vampire blitzer with break tackle, both of those are now very, very viable cage busters.
I was just going to say one example where I don't think they've gone far enough with some of the new things that they've introduced is with Brawling Brutes swapping the SPP scores for touchdowns and casualties. Now, obviously, Orcs, Black Orcs, and Ogres obviously know that Chaos teams don't apply to that because they are a ball-playing team that just happens to be strong, because their Chaos Warriors can actually do ball-playing feats across the table.
100%. I think, yeah, there's a few things they've introduced in the new edition that I don't pretend to have my head around, and this is one of them. I'm really not sure what this is going to do in a league setting, particularly a long league. What I do know is that casualties happen more often than touchdowns. Like when you track most casualties in a tournament and most touchdowns in a tournament, the person who wins most casualties has a lot more than the person who has most touchdowns, like double the amount, basically. Like Millsy, what were the numbers on I know it was Beach Bowl, but what were the numbers at Bundy Rum-ble? How many touchdowns did most touchdowns have?
24.
Okay, so 24 touchdowns, and what was casualties? Or
17.
oh, really?
So
Did I just undo my stat?
It's upside down land because it's Beach Bowl and because there were two Skaven teams scoring one-turn touchdowns left, right, and
That's
center.
hilarious. Trying to prove my point, and I've proved the opposite.
Yeah.
But
No,
it's the exception that proves the rule because it is generally the case where a most touchdowns award goes to somewhere between 12 and 15 for
Yeah.
a 5-game 11s event, and you
Yep.
can end up with 28 plus casualties at the same event. So
Yeah, I'm pretty
It's-
sure when I won most touchdowns at Ipswich with Vampires, I had 15, and I'm pretty sure most Cas had 30. I'm pretty sure it was like 2-1.
so we'll
it's
count
usually very close.
we'll count this as the exception that proves the rule. But when you've got Beach Bowl and it's one go for it to score with the gutter runner, or one, in my case, one chain push to score with a gutter runner, you've got two Skaven teams at the event, and they collectively have 4 draws and 1 loss between 16 games. It's because they're doing one-toners every other turn.
Yeah, well, yeah. One thing I didn't say was, against NBBBL players, I didn't lose a single game, and I beat one of them. So anyway, I caused a bunch of those draws. But what I'm saying is this change, this Brawling Brutes change, for me, I just have to put a pin in it and say I don't know. And I think that's what I think I think it's kind of Millsy's point. I think a lot of us, we just need to we don't know. We need more data to know what the impact is. I don't know the impact of Secure the Ball. I don't know the impact of exactly where these teams are going to land with all these changes. Mills is excited about the fact that we don't know because it's going to see some interesting things played out. This Brawling Brutes one for me could be massive, and I just don't know what the impact's going to be. I do think Black Orcs, as a specific example, really will benefit in a positive way. Like I don't think that's going to be broken. I don't think that's going to be bad because Black Orcs almost never scored touchdowns, and maybe that's because I can't play Black Orcs. But that certainly the number of touchdowns they get is hardly any, and so that's a really good leg up for them. But some of these teams that can score more touchdowns and have this rule, I'm really interested to see how that goes in a long league.
I'm actually curious now that maybe they could have gone harder and had Brawling Brutes as a player trait rather than a team trait. Because they've got Unsteady where people are disallowed from securing the ball as an action. Maybe they could have had Brawling Brute as a player trait. So the Orcs on a Black Orc team get the Brawling Brutes casualty SPPs, but the Goblins still get regular. That might have been a lot more to keep track of, but I thought that would have been an extra level of fun just to show the contrast between the two different players. That might have been cool.
Yeah, there's some merit to it. I like the idea.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it plays out.
So one thing we have seen is a shift in tackle now. So our dwarves and chaos dwarves have lost it, but yeah, we've had it sprinkled onto a couple of other players. Well, specifically on the dwarves, the blitzers got it. Our whites have it. Our human blitzers and the other OWA blitzers on there they've got a bit of tackle in there, which is always good, especially if you're considering those for tournament teams. Nearly everyone that went to a tournament would try and fit tackle in there somewhere. So now that we've got a bit of a sprinkling and a smattering on some of the other teams, it means that those other teams no longer have to take tackle. They can take a different skill. So those teams are going to get a slight little buff, I think.
So there are actually more teams that have brawling brutes. For example,
Oh,
Dwarves, Khorne, and Nurgle all have brawling brutes, but Chaos
There we
Dwarves do
go.
not.
And
there
Chaos
you
Chosen do
go.
not.
Well, Chaos Chosen shouldn't because they are ball players. They're just tough and strong while they're doing it. I personally think that Chaos Dwarves should have it, but they don't. But Dwarf teams, Khorne teams, and Nurgle, which were the ones I was worried about, they definitely have it.
They do. They do. Good pickup.
No, I think it's good. I think it's good. I think it actually, I'm going to jump to something else because there was another thing we didn't quite get right last episode. So you picked up something we just didn't quite get right just now. But I just want to pick up that punt we talked about in episode 19 that we thought punt was going to be overpowered. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be overpowered. Now, I think some of that is because as Aussies, we're used to watching AFL games and we're used to punt being massive. You punt, a long, long way, but that's not the intent of the rule. The rule is kind of almost like a dribble kick. It can't get intercepted, but I don't think it's as good as we first thought. So, for a start, you got to choose, you got to roll to see which direction it goes, and then you roll to see how far it goes. You can re-roll one or both of those if you have the kick skill, and kick's not a bad choice for somebody with punt. The Dark Elf runner is the one that comes with it out of the gate. It's the only player in the team lists that comes with punt. But kick on one of those makes sense, and I would be interested to see how it goes with in play. But I don't think it's the kind of we were worried that it was going to be broken. I don't think it's going to be broken.
No, I think they missed the. I love the fact that they've thrown it in there, but the fact that you could punt it one square away, if you're unlucky enough to roll a one, means it's not really getting punted. I would have liked to have seen maybe D3 plus three, so at least goes four squares or something similar, but it's in there now, and I'm going to say that when it works, it's going to be brilliant for you, and when it doesn't, it's going to suck. So it's not what we, like I said in a previous episode, we sort of raved on about it, and it's not going to be quite as useful as we thought.
Yeah, although I'm really interested to see how it does work with something like kick. I don't think it's broken, but I think it is going to bring up some interesting play options, and I want to see it in play.
The only thing I'm disappointed about is it should have just been part of the kick skill instead of a separate skill in its own right.
Yeah, well, they've done that before, like the old on the ball and pass block. They sort of combined those. So, there was room for them
Kick-off
to
return, I
have
think it was.
done that.
Kick-off return
Sorry, kickoff return and pass block is now on the ball.
on the
So,
ball. Yeah.
yeah. So,
There's
yeah,
room for it.
having kick. Yeah, I think so.
And that goes back to what I was saying before about make other skills better. Don't just punish people for taking the good ones.
Yeah.
Now, one other change we've seen to this edition that may have flown under the radar because it hasn't been announced in any of the Warhammer community articles is that there aren't special play cards anymore. So you might have missed it because you might have thought, oh, there's team cards for Bretonians and Tomb Kings, and there are, but they've been rebranded. They're not called team play cards anymore. They're called team reference cards. And they don't have special play cards in there. What they do have is the stats for each of the player in there, and they have the special rules for the pitch and any special balls that team has access to that comes on that sprue. The team reference cards are quite different to how they were in BB 2020, and there isn't the general pack of 6 types of special play cards that came in 2020 edition and 2016. So they've been done away with. I don't think anybody's, or at least people around here, I don't think you're going to miss it. It is a little sad, I think, that kind of zany option in the game has been taken away. I'm a little sad because I do think just absolute zany, crazy things going on in the game is one element of Blood Bowl that's enjoyable, and just playing a game for the random things that can happen as a storytelling narrative. I'm a little sad we don't have that option.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And I think going back to what you said, most people will have missed that that's not there because most people haven't been using them for quite a number of years. It's not like back in the LRB days. Yeah, you had the special play cards. You had 50k, 100k, 200 and 400k cards. And leagues used to use them, and they were a part of the inducement process. But yeah, sadly, they're just a thing that probably only the collectors buy to stick up on the shelf and haven't been used. So I can understand why GW said, look, they're not being used, so let's just not put them out. Yeah, but it is sad, like you said, one of the things that Blood Bowl is kind of missing is that stuff from back in the second and third edition days where it was just wacky and zany and things just happened. I think sometimes we can be a little bit too focused on winning our games or winning our tournaments, and we lose that fun element.
Yeah, and I think similar to that, I just wanted to just remind our listeners that if you have picked up the spikes, the Tomb King and the Bretonian spikes, or if you missed out, because I'm aware of some coaches that didn't pick them up and now wish they had, that the star players that can play for the Bretonians and Tomb Kings are not in the spike anymore. Now, I think there's a really good reason for this. I think the reason Warhammer have done it is they're waiting for the Forge World Minis to be ready for those star players to be announced. So don't get all sad in the mouth that we haven't got Ramtut, for example, on the Tomb King team. I think it's coming. I think we just need to be patient. And I want to also speak into the PDF with all the star players. I know some other podcasts have said, oh, they should have put them all in the rule book. I think they deliberately haven't put them all in the rule book so that they can easily update to have all the star players in the one place. So I'm here for it. I think it's good. And I think don't get down in the mouth that we haven't got all the star players in the spikes like we used to. I think, probably there's a corporate reason why GW have done it. My personal opinion is I think they've done it so that the third-party sculptors don't get their own versions out before Forge World have got theirs ready. But I think just hold your horses. I think let that play. Let them release them at their time once those models are ready. Because let's face it, that would be there's nothing frustrating. And I think we've criticised GW in the past about, releasing Grashnak Blackhawk and waiting over 2 years for the model to arrive. We don't want that scenario. So I think we just wait and see.
As opposed to when they released the Norse Yeti early when people were ordering Minotaurs and it leaked that Norse were coming out as the next team.
because people ordered, was it the Minotaur or was it the Rat Ogre? It was one of them.
It was a Rat Ogre, sorry, yes.
Yeah, and that's right, they got Norse Yetis instead, and they're like, hang on a minute, this hasn't been released yet. Yeah, and look, I just want to once again just thank the playtesting group. I know we did it last episode, and we don't need to harp on about the same things over and over every episode. But I do want to just say, I really can see the playtesters' fingerprints on, as an ex-playtester from the Living Rulebook era, I can see the fingerprints of the playtesting team in these rules. I've looked and pondered and thought about, how do you, where are the broken elements of this game? And things like the new devious skills, they look pretty balanced to me. I mean, again, there's some things I need to reserve judgment on, but I just want to, once again, I think the playtesting team have done a great job. Once again, backing Wilts, the humans and the orc team, even I myself thought, oh, well, they've definitely taken a hit. Well, maybe they haven't. Maybe the playtesting team have actually left them exactly where they were or even got them a little bit better. I think the playtesting team have worked pretty hard to make this edition work. And I just want to say, once again, thank you to those guys, the nameless people in the playtesting team. I mean, I think I know a couple of them, but I just want to, say, gee, it looks like there's been some good decisions made. My only frustration is I'm just not 100% sure whether some of them are typos or whether they're intentional. That's my only criticism, and an FAQ that comes out hopefully soon will sort all that out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Babs, and I think not only ourselves but all of our listeners should do that. Is just reserve judgment. When we've seen some of the rules that have been changed or the teams that have been changed, I want you to think that these guys that have been playtesting the rules have done it for a reason. And yes, while there might be a couple of typos, as soon as this errata or FAQ comes out, we'll know what was a mistake and what wasn't. And then we just need to trust the process that they've made these changes for a specific reason. I said at the top of the podcast about, why humans may have lost a point of passing ability. I trust the play testers that they've looked at these sorts of things and went, yes, this is what we need to do, so they're not overpowered. I love the process that's been going on with them, and the fact that we can have more different play styles. I'm loving it.
And these guys have got a wealth of experience. As I said, I do know some of them, and I have strong suspicions about others. And they themselves have admitted they're not going to get everything perfect from the get-go. And they've written in the rule book that things like the tierings are going to change, and that's one of the things. They haven't put the tiers in the rule book. They've left it so that they can update it. If long-term playtesting shows stuff, it's the kind of thing that just putting the team in a different tier will sort out. So, let's not, get all stressed out about it. Let's give it a red hot crack. I myself am actually a little bit disappointed I haven't played any games of the new edition yet. I don't think I can really have an informed opinion about a bunch of things, including Secure the Ball, until I've seen it in action for a while.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I think I want to say something else. I want to say we have got some really, really interesting changes to special skills on star players. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of special skills. They can be a bit of a gotcha moment. Zolcath seems to have this automatic hypnogaze action from 3 squares away. That's a bit of a shock to my system. I think it's a bit of a surprise. We do need to just again, tournament organisers need to consider the impact of all these special rules and star players, and whether they themselves also, like the teams, need to move around a bit. But you know what? There's a star player that I just want to give a massive big shout out to. You know who that star player is, Millsy?
Oh, is it a newly formed star player?
Yeah, Jurgen Demon Feeder. The allusion to a trilogy has paid dividends, and our winning entry is none other than our very own Millsy. Well done, mate. You've beaten me at the game that I never win.
Well, no, I've finally beaten Wilts because he's won it every time. It's taken me 20 episodes. I've made it.
Except for the one when it was Millsy won, but it was the Millsy as designed by Babs.
Yes. Oh, no,
the only time I can win is when I pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah.
So Jurgen Demon Feeder, as I said, you can still pick him up from Impact Miniatures. He's still available as a group of star players. And speaking of picking up miniatures, Millsy, do you want to talk a little bit about a team that is available for pre-order right now?
Well, would you be referring to the Terra Australis team that
I would.
all three of the commentators have in our hot little hands? And these are gorgeous, sexy little miniatures. They're all made of Australian animals. There's wombats, there's kangaroos, there's koalas. There's both magpies and cockatoos. There's frill-neck lizards.
Kookaburras, not magpies.
Kookaburras, are they? Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
If you want to paint them as a magpie, you're welcome to.
And a yowie. Let's not forget the yowie.
And the yowie. Yeah, this is an awesome team. So Jester Prince is the guys behind this. I believe the sculpts are actually done by Agni.
Correct. Yep.
But Sean over at Jester Prince, and one of the things that he's done, like he started by just designing one or two, and then just getting a feel with the community. So every time that he would do one or come up with a new concept, he would ask the community about it, especially in the Ausbowl or the Australian Facebook groups. And he's listened to our feedback, and come up with this amazing looking team. So any of our overseas listeners, if you've seen koalas before, you've seen these cute little things that you can go to the Australia Zoo and hold on to and carry. The koalas on the Terra Australis team look like they come from Mad Max. These are not your furry, cutesy little koalas. They're an awesome team. The fact that you've got so many different miniatures in there, you can actually paint them to play as any team in the rulebook. I'm loving them. I can't wait to get my paint onto them.
Going back to your point there about the Mad Max koalas, Millsy, I think they're actually mislabeled as koala linesmen. I honestly think they're drop bears.
Oh, they'd have to be drop bears.
Yep.
Yeah,
Which
for our overseas listeners, koalas are, these cute, fuzzy little things that you can hold. A drop bear looks very similar, but does has a taste for blood. They do drop out of trees. So if there are any tourists coming over
they're
to
also much
Australia and
larger.
you go out in the
Yeah,
bush,
drop bears are much
yeah,
bigger than koalas. Yeah, they're the larger
All you have to
carnivorous
do,
cousins.
all you have to do is put a tiny drop of Vegemite behind both ears, and you're perfectly safe at night from the drop bears.
yes, this is correct. So they kind of, they have a taste for these sorts of things. So, the rumor is with the Vegemite behind there is that you won't smell like a tourist. You'll smell like an Aussie. So if you do put that dab of Vegemite behind your ears there, and you go out into the bush, then a drop bear won't pick you out or single you out. Obviously, if you're the only one out in the bush, they'll find you anyway. But if you're among a group, put that Vegemite on there, and you'll be safe.
So you're playing them as vampires? Is that what you're saying, Millsy?
You can literally play them as anything. I actually think I'm going to use the big wombats. I think I'm going to play them as Tomb Kings. The
Right.
wombats look, they're buffed up. They look awesome.
So what about you, Wilts? What's your favourite out of the Terra Australis team?
Well, it'd be impossible for me not to say that the cockatoos are my favourite. A lot of people around the world, Australia, even as native Australians, don't enjoy the sound of cockatoos in the neighbourhood. I think that's a bit mean. Cockatoos are a cheeky bunch. They perfectly encapsulate the spirit of the Australian larrikin because they do play pranks on people. They do like to have a laugh. Maybe not as much as the kookaburras do, but still. Cockatoos are very, very human-like in their humor and in their enjoyment of the world around them. I just think they're beautiful animals as well, even if they can bite really hard and open you up if they really feel like it. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
the
all
wombats are
vicious.
really
They're all
awesome.
vicious, hence the name Terra Australis. And you can paint them up as a white cockatoo or a black cockatoo, right? So there's a few, and there are several
Or
sub
pink
varieties.
cockatoos or anything else
Yeah,
in between.
yeah. And actually, the cockatoo at our dog kennel actually just passed away the weekend just gone. He was
Oh no.
50. He was, yeah, Joe. He was 58. 58 years of
Oh,
age.
that's only young for a
Wow.
cockatoo.
That's pretty good innings, I reckon. Hey, but I just want to say, hey, look, these miniatures are absolute gold. These are absolutely astounding. And at Down Underworld Denizens, we give them our thorough endorsement and seal of approval in terms of being a brilliant way to celebrate being down under, is having a Down Underworld Denizen style Terra Australis team. And so we want to actually gift a team. We have acquired a Terra Australis team, thanks to Jester Prince, and we want to give it away to somebody with a competition. And we thought, this is a big deal. This is an entire team we're going to give away. So we're going to ask a little bit of you in return. And what we want you to do is send us an Australian themed entry. This is a painting competition, right? So you need to send us something Blood Bowl related that you've painted together that has an Australian theme. Now, it could be a single figure, it could be an entire team, but we do want it to be new. We don't want this to be something you've just pulled out of your collection. We want this to be a painting competition. So you do need to provide evidence to us of what it looks like before you paint it. And we want you to then send us the final photo. So, when are we going to ask people to do this? Is it over the Christmas period and New Year period? When that's kind of the time period we're looking for, I guess. When are we going to set it due?
I
Yeah, well, I
suggest that
think
we can have it drawn in February, give people at least a full month to get their entries in.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think maybe we'll set a due date. Maybe early February. You can say in time for our February
Episode
episode.
22.
Yeah, let's say something like
yeah.
that.
So I think episode 21 we can announce a date for it. But if you want to get onto it now, like Bab said, if we do, when you send us your entry, you don't actually have to send us the miniature. You just need to send us the pictures of it. Obviously, videos would really help assist the judges, which is all three of the commentary team. But if you can send a picture of the miniature or the team or the entry, whatever it happens to be,
Or
in its
diorama if they want to
base,
get excited.
Yeah.
send us an unpainted one of that. So, and that also might help if you've got a miniature that you're, maybe putting some green stuff on. We can see what changes you've made, what mods you've made, and then obviously send us the fully painted entry, or the pictures of the fully painted entry, and we will get out to you a Terra Australis team.
Yeah, so
that's
just
probably our biggest one yet.
Yeah, so just on that, one of the miniatures, I actually have a team, an Australian theme teamed, and one of the models that I used was actually Mudgee had a Blood Bowl tournament. I think they only ran two of them, called Dragon Bowl or Dragon Con. Yeah, Cody ran that out in Mudgee, and he had a dragon as the miniature. So I grabbed that dragon and I then put additional length of claws on its arms, and I painted. I made its tail a lot longer, strengthened it up, and I painted it up as a goanna. So yeah, turned the dragon into a goanna. So it's now in my team, but of course it would not be eligible because yeah, I have already painted it. So you need to make sure you're doing this for the competition.
Also because you're one of the judges, Babs.
Yeah. Okay, fair. Although that said, what I want us to do, what we will do, I think, is we will grab at least one of our minis and paint them up to show people what they look like painted for, yeah, maybe to inspire, maybe to yeah, just show off what the team looks like, because it is definitely worth it. And please don't wait. Pre-order your team, because these miniatures, as mentioned, can be used in an amazing way.
Very good.
What are we up to now?
Wrap up of the Bundy Rumble.
The wrap up of the Bundy Rumble. Yes, folks, you heard it here first. The world's first ever 2-day sevens event. The Bundy Rumble has gone off with a bang over last weekend, or as the time of recording it, went off over last weekend. Fantastic event. I was so stoked with it. Every player that came along, just raved about it. A couple of the big things that we did was we organised a dinner on Friday night, and we also had organised another dinner on the Saturday night. And so the people that drove up to Bundy on the Friday to get here early, we went out to Grunsky's Seafood Restaurant, sitting there having, seafood meal overlooking the Burnett River. It was fantastic, and just sort of got everyone in the mood for that camaraderie and so on that we always talk about in Blood Bowl tournaments. Then we had a few more people travel up on the Saturday morning, which is perfect. We played the game, or played the 4 games on Saturday, and then every single person that was in the tournament went out to dinner, including some of our spouses and even children, which was just absolutely perfect. I could not have wished for more. I had a player turn up on the day and register for the tournament. Now, most TOs would say, no, you don't do this, you don't do this. Well, this particular player, I had actually seen him in Grimm's Gaming and Hobbies, which is where we held it here in Bundaberg. I'd seen him the Wednesday before the tournament, and he was playing a practice game against one of the lads in store. And then he just turned up on Saturday morning and said, "Oh, I want to play." So it meant that I had to sit out on day one, and I probably couldn't get quite the results that I wanted. But I was more stoked to have this guy, Adrian. I shouldn't just call him this guy. So Adrian played his. By the end of the day, he had played his 5th Blood Bowl game ever. So he had one practice match and then played in the tournament. He came out to dinner with us. He signed up for the Cane-Toe Cup. He signed up for the North Brisbane Doubles tournament. So he's super keen. So to get ourselves a new player in my league was absolutely fantastic. So, but the speaking of results, elsewhere we've talked about it when we talk about the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League. When they're putting on the tournament, they did come up in force. They sent up 6 people, but we do have some results. One of the things with the with the Bundy Rumble is that every player or every coach had to have a lineman with no skills on their team that they named Kahuna. And throughout the tournament, we kept track of star player points for the Kahuna, and whoever scored the most was got first prick off the prize table, and they get to have their Kahuna made into a star player for next year. Last year's star player was Luca Brunnyhook. We did actually have one of our coaches play with Luca Brunnyhook in the tournament. Everyone received a miniature, of course,
I
but
believe there were 2 or 3 that were playing with him.
oh, there you go. Maybe I didn't get to see those guys, but I know at least one. But yeah, maybe 2 or 3 that used Luca Brunnyhook, which was a dark elf lineman with what are the
Wrestle strip
skills
ball.
again? Oh, wrestle and strip ball. Yeah, so he was used to good effect. So anyway, without further ado, the big Kahuna this year was Dimitri's skink on his lizardman team. So Dimitri took out the big Kahuna by a strong margin too, I would say. First place was Tony Wood and his Skaven. Second place was Wilts
Snow
and his
Crash.
Skaven.
Hey.
Yeah, Snow. And I believe Wilts and Tony were on even scores, I believe, and it was just
At the end of
strength
day one,
schedule.
we're on even scores. I did end up having a loss to Dimitri. He got
Ah,
9 SPP for his Kahuna off me, so that was
ooh,
definitely a high point for him.
yeah,
And after that point, I just couldn't catch Tony, but I still gave him a good run, and I was 1 touchdown behind him at the end of the day, end of the second day.
yeah, fantastic. Yes, Skaven are very, very broken. I have taken immediate steps to calm them down for the next one, but that'll be a year away.
Well, they
In
only get
third
half as
place,
many gutter runners next year.
this is true. Yeah, that the
I only have one under beach mob rules.
yes, this is true. So under season 3, that will be changed. So, but Dimitri came third with his Lizardman. Most touchdowns. I believe the player with the most touchdowns was Tony Skaven. However, in the rule set, and one thing we'd like to do here in Queensland is use what we call the trickle down effect. So the highest number of touchdowns outside of the top 3 went to Rowan Larter and his Snotlings. And I believe 90%, if not 100% of those were from thrown Snotlings. Did
I
a
think I can
fantastic.
confidently say it's 100% from thrown snotlings.
Yeah. Um, Most casualties went to Ken Dunford and his Orcs. Ken does love his most casualties, and I think that's 3 tournaments this year where he's come away with most casualties.
And I'd like to
Uh,
just point out that Ken getting most casualties was not a trickle down. He earned it 100% on his own. I
100%
was
fair,
I was
fair.
1 behind keeping pace with him for the event.
Yeah, there you go. That would have been caused by your rat ogre, I would say there, Wilts.
No, mostly it was the crowd. Well, I
Well,
suppose you could blame the rat ogre, but it was the crowd doing the
but
work.
yeah, yep, yep. Now, best comeback. Unfortunately, on the day I announced the incorrect player for the best comeback. So, when you use the score program, there's a little buttons that you can toggle through, and I was looking at the wrong one. So, I've reached out to both of the people that the person who was awarded best comeback and the person who's going to be awarded with it. Both of them are going to keep their best comeback award because one person scored more points. But as we had on last episode, one of the things is the best comeback is the person who rose the most places on the second day. So, best comeback that was awarded on the day was to Andrew Laidlaw. And then the best comeback for the person who rose the highest number of places was good old Stewie and his Norse.
Irish stew.
He was Irish Stew. He was my one loss. I played on the second day. He was my one loss on the day, and I nearly had him, but anyway, no, well deserved to Stewie. And the best painted, I actually got the crew at Grim Gaming and Hobbies. I said, okay, at lunchtime when we go and eat, can you guys go around and have a look at all the tables? I made sure I put a little nameplate out there of everyone. So the crew there actually looked at all of the teams and they came up with the best painted, and it went to Jeremy Walters. Now Jeremy actually had 3 of his teams at the tournament. A couple of people were borrowing them. but specifically the team that won it was his Star Wars themed halfling team. So he had all of the Ewoks and then I think an ATST and a Treeman in there. So that was fantastic.
It's an ATS tree.
Yes.
Ah, yes, an ATS tree. And I think the other one was Morgan Treeman. Were the names. I do love the names of his guys there as well. So they were the results from the Bundy Rumble. But the other important thing at the Bundy Rumble was it was the final tournament in the Queensland Sevens tournament series. So it was really hotly contested. And in the end, the winner of our Queensland Tournament 7 series and the first ever in Queensland was none other than Wilts. Well done, mate.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for putting on the event, Millsy, that I could turn up to, and taking the gracious backstep to let Adrian play so that you didn't quite earn enough points to overtake me.
Yes. Yeah, I was still in there. So I did come second in that event, and you might have heard at the podcast at the start of the year, or one of my goals was to win or podium in the tournament series. So I did achieve that goal with the second place. I would have liked to have given you a run, but having said that, even if I played all 8 games, I don't know whether I still would have got the results. You were on fire, Wilts, and you thoroughly deserve it, mate. And
Thank
third
you.
place went to Aidan G from Townsville. He actually only got to attend 2 tournaments, but he had some very strong run-ins in there earlier on in the year, so he took out third place. And speaking of which, I have got in contact with him and told him that he's getting his third place pin for the tournament series, and I've been very slack and haven't sent it off. So hopefully, Aidan, if you're listening to this, you'll have it by the time you listen to this, because I'm going to post it tomorrow for you.
And I was gunning for it. I worked my backside off. I did end up coming 5th overall at the Bundy Rumble. I was there. I ended up with 5 draws, believe it or not. But I was
Yeah,
playing my
Dave's
heart
kind of
out.
killed it for you.
Yeah, I was playing my heart out. I really wanted that 3rd spot. Didn't get there. So Aidan well and truly beat me on fair and even terms.
Yeah, and you were just behind, like you came in 4th place, but yeah, like we said, all 4 of the place getters there earned their spots. It was not easy, and I can't wait for 2026 Queensland Sevens tournament series. So maybe hopefully I can go one up on Wilts and take that one out. But the other final big announcement that we had at the Bundy Rumble, we finally drew the raffle for the Flagstaff Jailbirds, which was the human team that I'd painted up based on the Feudball novel that Babs and Jeff Turner had written and signed for me. So we ended up selling 134 tickets in the end, and the winner was none other than Tats. So Chris Tattersall, who's one of our sponsors with Tats Tabletop, he won the raffle there, so I got to send that back to him. And I did mention, I said, mate, one of the good things about you winning is I have so much bubble wrap and packing popcorn and whatever it happens to be from everything that you've sent me. So your miniatures will arrive 100% in pristine condition. Whilst I'm mentioning Tats, the block dice, I had unique block dice made up for all tournament entry or tournament competitors, and they featured the Grim Reaper as the logo, being that we're running it out of Grimm's Gaming. So Chris supplied those dice. Once again, beautiful looking dice. He also supplied and modified the Luca Brunnyhook miniature. And one of the things I said, look, I need a dark elf that has a goatee, because Lukey Honeybrook is the actual winner of the first Big Kahuna, has traditionally always had a goatee, so we put that on there. And Chris also did some modifications on one of my other pieces of swag, which was a Bundy vending machine, which may have come in and helped a few people win some of their events. So thanks very much to Tats. Also to Robert Wilcox of Epic Upgrades. He provided all of our reroll tokens at the people got as part of the tournament, and also out of the goodness of his heart sent through like a beer stein and a dice cup and so much other stuff that he didn't need to do. So thank you to Robert Wilcox from Epic Upgrades. And
And
once
there
again,
was some grumbling about Chris Tattersall winning because obviously he's one of our major sponsors. But obviously there were impartial witnesses to the roll, to the raffle draw. And to anyone that missed out, unfortunately missed out in this instance, I do just have to say you have to buy plenty of tickets to win raffles. So well done to Tats, and we'll be seeing and hearing more from him soon.
Yeah.
we
Yeah, it
certainly
was
will.
100%. Everybody at the Bundy Rumble watched the draw, so it was a fair draw.
Yeah, it certainly was. So, yeah, that's my wrap up of the Bundy Rumble, and it has locked in and secured my thoughts on hosting it again next year. So I know everyone from the NBBBL have said they're coming back, and number of people that couldn't make it this year because of other circumstances. Now that they know it's going to be on, they're locking it into their schedules as well.
They'll soon be back and in greater numbers.
Yes.
And I think that's actually a pretty good segue to actually talk about things coming up. Now we did also mention the Doubles Showdown, but I just want to also point our listeners to, this new edition is the perfect time to welcome people into your leagues. Do think about how you're promoting your league in your local area. Are there ways people who aren't connected in your immediate gaming community can be aware that you exist? Are there easy avenues for them to know about your league and join your league? It is a great opportunity to have new coaches join your league. Here in Gerbil, we've actually brought on a new sponsor, Blooming Barrel Hobby Lounge in Agnes Water. There's going to be a bunch of coaches learning the game and playing the game. Yeah, we're looking forward to having a large number of new people join our league. So just want to encourage you as listeners, do take the time to think about how do you welcome new players. Maybe you need to take a leaf out of North Brisbane Blood Bowl League and their boot camp, running some practice games for new coaches. Do have a think about it. Do have a think about what you can do for that. Queensland has some news. Queensland has NAF approval for its 2026 11s tournament series, so full Blood Bowl tournament series for 2026, with 7 tournaments as part of not just the tournament series, but also, in breaking news, the qualification process for the Death Rollers, that is the state team for Queensland. So if you're a Queensland Blood Bowl coach and you want to make the Queensland representative side to compete at Ausbowl State Championships, which is tentatively mooted for April of 2027 in Canberra, then actually competing at those events is the way to go. And the first one of those events is the Brisbane City Bash 2026 on 21st and 22nd of February. Close on its heels is Cane Toad Cup on the 14th and 15th of March.
Yeah, so it's one of the things that we were looking forward to for next year was kind of taking a year off and taking it a bit easier in tournaments because we've just gone through this qualification process for the last ASC. Now it looks like we've got to do it again for 2027. We were hoping to go to 2028 and put it in the off year of World Cup, but the powers that be have said no, it's going ahead on the proposed year. So unfortunately, what it may mean is that with a lot of the Queenslanders jumping in and going, okay, well, I'm committing to this, these 7 tournaments, I'm committing to trying to make the team. It may mean that some of the Queensland coaches don't make it to the ATC, which is the Ausbowl Teams Championships, which are held over in Western Australia. So the jury's still out on that, whether we can get some teams over there or not. But certainly having the ASC in 2027 may limit Queensland's representation in the teams championship, unfortunately.
Yeah, there are unfortunately a couple of clashes in our calendar with other significant events. And yes, Ausbowl Teams Championship does unfortunately clash with what we have slated for Gold Coast Cup. Same dates, unfortunately. Also, another clash we weren't aware, but the Capital Shield in Wellington clashes with Fumble in the Jungle this year, 2026. So there are a couple of clashes, and unfortunately, because it's a qualification year, it means, maybe it means some Queenslanders won't get to as many events as we'd really like further afield than Queensland.
I'm just going to put it out there that I'd rather be going to sunny Cairns in June than going back to New Zealand. As much as I do want to go back to New Zealand, I would love to get there again in the future. I think I'd rather be doing it in October.
Yeah, New Zealand is definitely on my list to travel again, but I wouldn't like to do it in the middle of winter. So if I've got to go somewhere in winter, Cairns would be my. I think I've told people before that that my very first time going to Cairns was in the middle of our winter, and sitting on the Esplanade in a sandy pool, looking up and seeing the temperature is 31 degrees centigrade was fantastic.
I think you've got it all wrong. I think if you go to Wellington in the middle of June, you will see the real Wellington.
I've got
Maybe.
postcards. I can look at those.
Oh, windy, wet, and freezing cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I want to just talk a little bit about some amazing news. We are in the news section right now, and I do want to talk about some amazing news. We have actually reached an in-principle agreement with Charlie Victor to talk about one of their products in their new range. Now, we don't actually have samples to be able to have a good look over and give you a bit of a review, so we will do that in a future episode. Yeah, we'll do that in a future episode, but they are taking pre-orders for their medium-sized thick skull case. Now, there is an XL size Charlie Victor thick skull case that holds a pitch and a rule book and all that kind of jazz. This is a smaller version. This is really just for your team. But it is a really exciting and interesting initiative. In particular, I wanted to just highlight it has two different ways to hold your team. You can hold your team the traditional way with foam, and you can buy specific foam cutouts to match your team scale. So, whether you've got 25mm bases, 32mm bases, 40mm bases, you can grab, custom foam to go inside your medium thick skull case to match. But you don't need foam at all. That's the amazing thing. That actually it comes with a special magnetic system inside this case, so that then you can put a magnet on the underside of your miniatures and it will hold your miniatures to the magnets. So it's a special system in these thick skull cases to hold your teams through the magnet system, which is pretty amazing. In addition, even though it is a smaller size than the XL thick skull, the medium thick skull still has room for a dice cup. And if you've got a dice tray that you prefer, it can unfold and go in there. It's got room for dice as well as your team. So it is still quite a decent sized case. And it is a great product. Charlie Victor are known for their quality. If you don't know who Charlie Victor products are, I do encourage you to get online and have a good look at their web store. They do have a really strong reputation for delivering quality. They're not the cheapest product on the market, but that's because you're buying quality. And just want to really rate Charlie Victor to you. And please get on. I believe they still have 10% off pre-orders for this particular thick skull case. So do jump on, have a look, get your pre-order in now.
Yeah, and speaking of merchandise, Blood Bowl actually have some official merchandise themselves now. They've gone up on the website not too long ago. They've got shirts, wall banners, even baby suits.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's right. Baby one pieces. So to get to this collection, it is kind of third-party merchandise. It's on a separate place to where you buy your miniatures. It's merch.warhammer.com. So merch.warhammer.com. And yeah, they've come out with a brand new range of merchandise. They used to have some T-shirts back in the 2016 era. They've redone all the T-shirts, so you can actually get Brion Barons T-shirts or Nehekara Nightmares, if I'm saying that right. And some of the classics like the Doom Lords or the Dwarf Giants or the Skaven Blight Scramblers. They've got T-shirts for those. And they've got banners that you can buy and put up in your man cave.
Get your popcorn today.
Or your Nurgle burgers.
The Pestilence burgers.
Yeah. Now, one other, we joked around in episode 19 that, maybe it was even earlier that, maybe Warhammer are actually providing a market for third parties, by not doing the tokens particularly well. If you're upset about the tokens kind of taking up too much space on the pitch, as Wilts has mentioned in previous episodes, there is actually one solution to this that I just want to give a quick promotion about. There's a company based in Montreal called Tabletop Goodies. They actually have a physical brick and mortar store now in Montreal itself. They actually have a skill hook system. I have the skill hook system, as does Stewie, and they've updated that system for 2025. So you can have a chomped skill hook, you can have a dodgy snack token that clips underneath through a magnetic system. And I've been chatting with the owner of Tabletop Goodies, Laurent, and he has actually upgraded the strength of the magnets to make them even better than they were before. So just want to commend Tabletop Goodies and their skill hook system to you. Have a look. Again, they have a Shopify store. The other breaking news: we don't want to be exclusively Blood Bowl. We want to be all fantasy football games. And make sure that people play all types, and of course you can get miniatures like Terra Australis that can play for a variety of games. Guild Ball is one of those games. Guild Ball is a fantasy football game, so it's kind of harkening back to the origins of football as a game, where it was literally just a ball people kicked and threw and passed around on an open field, and villagers played it. There was no sports people back then. Well, Guild Ball as a game have actually gone completely digital. So you can buy all the miniatures as STLs now. So the Guild Ball guilds, all the different guilds, which are kind of like the Blood Bowl teams, if you like, are actually going to be made available through My Mini Factory on the official Guild Ball page on My Mini Factory for downloading and 3D printing Guild Ball minis, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Embrace the technology.
Well, I just want to say maybe leaning a little further into some other gaming systems might be something we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail with a very special guest speaker coming up in an episode soon.
Ooh, teaser. Love it. Yeah, what better way to end off our episode 20, or December episode, than with that little cliffhanger, that little bit of teaser of information. So I know, and just rounding out a bit of a reflection on the year of 2025. I know on behalf of the podcast, we have been amazed at how far we've reached out and how many podcasts have mentioned us, or we've been on cross-pollination. We've been appeared on a few other podcasts there as well, and just kind of humbling looking back at where we began 18 months ago to where we are now, and and we're not finished yet. We've got so much planned for next year already. Babs has already teased one little segment that we hope you guys stick around for much more Blood Bowl goodness to come from the Down Underworld Denizens crew.
And Millsy, just before we go, I gave a little teaser. Do you want to give a little teaser as to something we might be coming up with before we finish up the year?
Oh, you mean like probably maybe 1 week before the end of the year? There's a special day that comes up, probably celebrated most of the world over. And this being the year of Blood Bowl 25, and 25 being the date of our month, yes, we may be harkening out to a little special Christmas gift, but you may have to wait till actually Christmas for that one.
So stay tuned. We might have a special segment just for you. All right. Any final
and
shout-outs? Any final sign-offs?
a couple of shout outs. I do want to shout out to all of the guys at the NBBBL, even the ones that couldn't make it, for that turned up for the Bundy Rum-ble, for getting behind each other and getting together this rules pack for the doubles tournament. Massive shout out from my point of view to Tats Tabletop. I held 4 tournaments this year. I had 3 Bundy Cups and the Bundy Rum-ble. and Tats, the dice he supplied, they're in hot demand. I've just noticed a message I missed from Wilts the other day. He's still asking for some dice, which I do have, Wilts, and we'll talk turkey on that one. There could be a Christmas pun in that, turkey. Oh,
Thanksgiving.
But no, I'd love to. Big shout out to Chris Tattersall of Tats Tabletop. It's not only the dice that he does, but it's the extra little things he throws in specially, and the sculpting that he does for me as well. So there's my shout out and my sign off. As always, win or the cash any bin.
Yeah, I'd like to pile on to what Millsy just said. I think I really like Bundaberg as a venue for tournaments because it is a good central point. So I'd like to say thank you, Wilts, for coming down from Rocky. It's a fair trek to come from Rockhampton for that event. There was quite a few of us. There was 4 of us from Gladstone, so that was good. There was a couple from Bundy. There were some from the Sunny Coast League, and of course we've rabbited on plenty about the NBBBL guys. So it was a good central meeting place for people down south and people from up north all getting together in one location. So it was a great event, Millsy. Well done. Brilliant. World's first. I look forward to reading a nice write-up of that. So don't forget to do that. Make sure you get a write-up of it. And yeah, for me, I guess make sure you have a great Christmas season. Make sure you play some games of Blood Bowl 3rd season as part of that celebration.
I'll squeeze in one final shout out to Tats for the episode. I just want to say a big thanks to Chris for the games we've shared this year. Lots of tough competition, some fun moments, and our 2 draws on the table, leaving nothing behind. Looking forward to the next one we get next year, hopefully up in Cairns. And Millsy, my sign off this episode is going to be on your behalf as well. So, harkening back to Frogs and Slan, the famous fan chant for the Slan in 2nd edition of Blood Bowl was, "You think you're smart, you think you're a whiz, well, just you remember whose planet this is."
Yes! Go, Wilts! Oh, I love it!
Yep, brilliant. I think it might have even been in 1st edition, that chant, too. It was definitely in 2nd, yeah.
I've been holding that one the whole episode, mate.
Nice.
Well,
You've
as I
made
said
my
to you,
day.
Frogs are officially back in 3rd season but in Warhammer's own writing.
Yeah.
Before we let you guys go, the last thing we need is each of you to give us your very best Down Underworld. That's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Do it again, Ken.
Ebar gum, lad. That's brilliant.
That's the one I was waiting for.
Nice.
Ken's accent.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What episode will this be?
2020.
I'm not going to catch up to hear this episode for another 2 years. I'm only just finished episode 8.
Well, we mentioned you in episode 12, so you got to catch up to that one as well. And now you're on 20. You're famous.
Oh, 12, you say? Right, I'm going to have to go and listen to that. And if there's anything derogatory, you're in trouble. We've got a website now, Millsy. You're in so much trouble.
Ken is very impressed with this website, by the way.
You can't edit out Suck It Millsy.
I think it needs a soundbite.
Good, because I need to go get food at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I've got your stomach at heart.
Yeah. Babs probably needs another pee break anyway.
No, I don't, but I am looking forward to dessert when we finish recording. Okay, here we go. Down Underworld Denizens discusses games, workshops, games, and products such as Blood Bowl, Gutter Bowl, Dungeon Bowl, and Crunch. We also discuss other fantasy football board games and concepts from other companies, such as Dread Ball, Guild Ball, Grind, Elf Ball, Myth and Goal, Blitz Bowl, Chaos Ball, Monsters of the Midway, and Feudball. we discuss products and services such as miniatures or software made by producers suitable for several of these board games. Games Workshop terms and conditions in point 2.1 state they grant the user the non-exclusive right to use their authorised intellectual property for broadcasting and other media-related activities such as commentary and opinion pieces, blogs, and other similar informational and descriptive purposes. Down Underworld Denizens respects and honours these terms.